Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Love Against the Throne. Episode 9. Chapter 41a. After lunch, I had gotten the number to Eclipse pack from Cassius and led Nicole and Izzy to my room. We walked in, and Nicole looked around at the large room in awe. "This is gorgeous," she whispered. Who knew Cassius had such good taste? I picked up my phone from the end table. Izzy snorted loudly. "Cassie didn't design it. I did with his future queen in mind. He didn't have time to design a room." "Oh, well, thank you, Izzy," I said as I sat on the couch beside Nicole. I dialed the number Cassius gave me. I let it ring before a gruff male voice answered. "This is Alpha Brian Case. Who might you be? I am very busy, so be quick." "Hello, Alpha. This is Queen Gemma. I am calling on behalf of your sister Nicole," I announced as the Alpha growled. "Is this some kind of joke?" I was taken aback by his question. "I assure you this is no joke. Is your father Roland Case?" "Yes." "Well, as I said before, I am calling on behalf of your sister, who is sitting beside me." He growled again. "My sister is dead." "Are you sure?" "Look, I don't know who you are, but I don't have time for this." He hung up the phone, and I just stared at it. "Your brother thinks you are dead." I looked at Nicole. "Gemma, dear. You may have to use your queen tone on him to get him to listen," Izzy instructed me. Nodding, I took a deep breath and redialed the number. The Alpha answered with a growl. "What?" he nearly roared. "I told you I don't have time for jokes." Squaring my shoulder, I summoned my tone. "This is Queen Gemma Mackenzie. I am calling on behalf of your sister Nicole." There was a moment of silence. "You are the queen?" I heard him gulp. "How can you be calling on my sister's behalf? She is dead." "Who told you she is dead?" I asked him. "Her mate Alpha Reynolds." I sighed. "Well, that was lying. Your sister is very much alive. She has suffered horrible abuse at the hands of Alpha Reynolds for 3 years. She is finally free of him, and she is here wanting to speak with your father." Brian sighed heavily. "Nick is really alive? Oh, goddess!" I could hear the pain in his voice. "My father is not here at the moment. He and his new mate went on vacation, but I can get a hold of him," he explained. "May I speak to my sister?" "Of course you can. Here she is." I handed Nicole the phone. "Your brother wants to speak to you." She smiled and took my phone. "Bree." She burst into tears as I assumed he answered her. I stood up and walked over to my bed, and sat on the edge. Izzy sat beside me as Nicole spoke to her brother. Izzy placed her hand on my arm. "Didn't you tell me a few days ago that you didn't think you would make a good queen?" I lie down on the bed. "Did I say that? Probably. I have doubts about myself. About everything." "Oh, Gemma. My dear. You haven't been crowned officially, and here you are, being every bit the queen this kingdom needs. That woman owes you her life. I have watched you for the last week and a half. I know you will lead this kingdom to a level of greatness than I ever could. Izzy explained to me. I closed my eyes as I hadn't realized just how tired I was. I need to go to Luna class, but I am just tired all of a sudden. You should rest, dear, that is more important than Luna class. She smiled at me. Queen Gemma, Nicole called from the couches, do you have a piece of paper and a pen? Izzy shot up from the bed, walked over to the desk, and looked through the drawers finding paper and a pen. She handed them to Nicole. Moments later, Nicole had hung up the phone. Dear, we should go to my room so Gemma can get some rest. Oh, okay. I want to call my father. I'll let you use my phone. She stood up and helped Nicole to her feet. Gemma, we'll see you later. I sat up on my bed and waved as they left my room as my phone rang again. It was sitting on the coffee table. It was a video call from my mother. Smiling, I sat on the couch. Hi, Mom, I said, only to see my blue-eyed sunshine looking back at me. Mommy! My son squealed at me. Nicky! I cried out to him. Hi Gemma, my mother's face came into view next to Nicky. He learned a new song that he wanted to sing to you. I smiled widely. You did, Nicky? Sing it to me. Nicky began to sing a silly nursery rhyme that I had learned as a pup. I tried not to cry as my sunshine sang to me. Did you like the song, Mommy? Nicky asked me. Of course I did, baby. You have a great voice. I said to him. How are you doing? I met my woof. He said to me. His name is Lasher. My eyebrows lifted. Oh, Lasher. That is a cool name. Is he nice to you? Yes, Mommy. I miss you. I miss you too, baby. You'll get to see me in a few days with Grandma, and Grandpa bring you here to me for my big party. He sighed. I want to live with you. I want that too. He looked away from the camera, and I heard Jeremy saying something to my mother. Daddy says I have to go now. Tell your dad I said hi. Bye, Mommy. I love you, Nicky. So much. He smiled as my mother took the phone from him. How are you doing, Gemma? My mom asked me. I smiled. I am doing okay, Mom. I have some big news. I'm pregnant. My mother's eyes widened as she squealed loudly. Really? Phil? I heard her yell for my father. I laughed as I heard her tell my father, who had just run into whatever room they were in. My father's face came into view next to my mother. Your mother just told me. I can't believe we are getting 2 new grandpups this year. My father said. 3. I smiled at him. My mother squealed again. Twins? Ears, Melinda. He rubbed his ear. I am so happy for you and Cassius. Everything is working out for you. Your mother and I will see you in a few days for your coronation. And Nicky, right? He nodded. Of course, your mother and I will bring him along with Tiffany. Oh, Tiffy. I miss her. Tell her I said hi. We all miss you, Gemma. My mother said, and I suddenly felt sad. I miss you all too. My dad sighed. Well, we have to get going, Gemma. We'll talk again soon. That's good, Daddy. I was about to take a nap before my date tonight. Ooh, Cassius is taking you on a date. My mother cooed. I nodded. He is taking me someplace fancy and making me wear a dress. My mother laughed out loud. A dress? You are voluntarily wearing a dress. Phil, it's a miracle. Well, he is very persuasive and, well, when he begs me for stuff. My father rolled his eyes. I don't know about. Anyways, we have to run. Bye, Gemma. Love you. I love you too, Daddy. Mom, I love you. Bye, precious. My mother blew me a kiss before the phone hung up. I sat in silence for a moment. My heart heavy from missing my family. With a sad sigh, I stood up from the couch, kicked off my shoes, and then flopped onto my bed and fell asleep. Cassius. The day had been long and just stressful. Deke had relayed the information he had gathered from the Silver Paw Pack house. The pack had been engaging in the trafficking of low-level wolves and rogues. So basically, a slave trade had been going on between them and this so-called rogue king. The slave trade involved other packs, and Deke was set to investigate further. Maria told me that the warriors from the former pack were being integrated into other packs. Former Alpha Reynolds was being injected with wolfsbane to keep him from tearing up his cell in the dungeons. He had remained combative. He was also chained up with Silver. Even with wolfsbane in his system, he tried attacking Maria during her interrogation with him. It was likely that he would be executed for his crimes against she-wolves. Some of his pack members had offered testimony, and it just got worse the more we heard. Deke and I were finally walking out of my office for the day. Deke clapped me on the shoulder. Hey, man, I heard the news through the grapevine. So it's true. I lifted an eyebrow at my best friend. Which news would that be, buddy? You and Gemma are expecting a pup. He smiled. Pups? Deke's eyes widened as his smile grew larger. Leave it to you to one-up me. He laughed as we gave each other a bro hug. I do hope they all become friends with my pup. I hope that too, Deke. Speaking of you, best get on home to Audrey. She hasn't seen much of you since Saturday, and she will probably strangle me if I keep you much longer. You are probably right, Cass. He started to walk away. You have fun on your date with Gemma. Bye, I waved as he headed towards his section of the palace. I sighed and walked towards the elevator. Casper Reynolds was standing near the doors pacing. He was dressed in a nice suit and had a bouquet. Hello, Casper, I said as I walked towards him. He jumped slightly as he stopped his pacing. Oh, hi Cassius. He mumbled. I tilted my head. You look nervous, Casper. I am taking your sister out to dinner. He offered a small smile. I grasped his shoulders. Breathe, Casper. You will be okay. Just show her a good time. A sigh escaped the young alpha. I guess I should be thankful she is even giving me a chance. The elevator doors opened to reveal, and my sister walked out. She was wearing a relatively short and revealing black dress while her brown hair was slicked back in a ponytail. Where exactly are you guys going? Ainsley rolled her eyes. we are going on a date, Cassius. She looked at her mate, who was merely staring at her with wide eyes and attempting to speak. I waved my hand in front of his eyes. Breathe, Casper. Breathe. FF flowers. He held up the bouquet to my sister. She smiled and took them from him. These are lovely, Casper. She held out her arm for him. I smacked his arm, and he shook his head. Sorry, I was just. He smiled and laughed. Ainsley. You look beautiful. He finally managed to say. He interlinked his arm with hers. You two have a good night. Be safe and use protection. Cassius. Ainsley whined at me. I pointed a finger at Casper. You be good to my baby sister, Casper. Or you will know only pain for the rest of your life. I smiled at the young alpha, who started trembling. Cassius, Ainsley glared at me. I'm just looking out for you, Ans. I smiled at her as I leaned down and kissed the top of her head. I'll guard her with my life, Cassius, Casper stated. You have my word. Good, now get going. I have to get ready for my date, they waved as they walked away. I laughed lightly as the door on the elevator opened again. I stepped on, eager to see Gemma. I practically jogged down the hall to our room when the doors opened also. Opening the door to our room, I heard snoring coming from the bed and almost burst out laughing as I saw Gemma sprawled out on her back. Her head wasn't on a pillow, but her mouth was wide open, and her mouth was emitting the snore. She looked adorable. Snickering, I pulled out my phone and took a couple of pictures before lying beside her and taking a selfie with her. She groaned and opened her violet eyes. Cass, she mumbled. What are you doing? Taking pictures of the queen while she slumbers, I sat up on the bed and showed her the phone. Those beautiful little eyes narrowed at me. Oh, exacting your revenge, I see. She slowly sat up and looked at the clock beside the bed. Is it almost 6 p.m.? I nodded. Yep. Shoot, I fell asleep after lunch, she shook her head. I didn't realize how tired I was. I helped her to her feet, and she leaned against me. You can sleep all you want, my queen. You are creating life and need all the rest you can get. I leaned down and kissed her. Do you still want to go out tonight? Yes, she rubbed her belly. I am starving. I clasped her hand. Well, let's go take a shower and then get dressed. I lead her into the bathroom. We just showered this time and were out in 10 minutes. In the closet, I watched her as she put on the dark purple dress I had suggested. The thin material hugged her curvy body just right. It was strapless with a plunging neckline or whatever they call it. It hung down to her knees and swayed when she walked. She wiggled her at me, making Enoch growl in my head. Are you just going to watch me get dressed? She said with a hand on her hip. Yes, of course, I am. I grabbed her arms and leaned down to lock my lips on her soft ones. My queen is the most beautiful she-wolf in the kingdom. Of course, I am staring. I traced my hand down her cheek. Give it a few months, and I'll be a whale, she mumbled. All the more beautiful, love, I smirked as I released her. I have to get dressed now. She walked out of the closet, and I quickly put on a black Armani suit with a purple vest. I sat on the couch to wait for her. My breath caught in my throat when she walked out. Her blonde hair was braided mermaid style, and she had put on light makeup. Holy goddess, woman! I managed to breathe out. She sauntered towards me while swaying her hips. "Does my king approve?" she said in her tone as her violet eyes bore into me. "Oh, baby!" I lightly clasped her arm. "We may not make it out of this room before I rip that dress off of you, bend you over this couch, and with you till you can't walk." She snorted. "Well, suppress that urge. I am starving. Let's go." She brushed past me and opened the door. Taking a deep breath, I took her arm in mine, and we walked towards the elevators. "My, don't you two look elegant?" my mother said to us as she stepped off the elevator. "Where are you kids headed off to?" "Just some dinner," I smiled at my mother. "Well, you two have fun tonight." She patted my arm before walking down the hall towards her and my dad's room. "Bye, Izzy," Gemma called to her. The doors opened, and we stepped onto the elevator. "So, where are you taking me?" she asked. "Dinner," I replied. "Just dinner?" I shrugged. "Maybe." Once out of the elevator, we walked down the hall to the front door. Guards and Omegas bowed as we walked past. We both smiled at all of them. Bruce was waiting with the limo. He bowed his head as he opened the door. "Good evening, Your Majesties." He greeted us as he helped Gemma into the limo. "Good evening, Bruce." I smiled as I slid in next to my mate. We sat in silence as the limo drove off. I clasped her hand and looked out the window. "How many pups should we have?" I asked her. Her head shook as it seemed I had interrupted her thoughts. I don't know, Cass. I hadn't thought about it. These two would be just fine for me." "Oh, I always wanted 6. Her eyes widened. "Yeah, no, I don't think so. Not unless you have them." She sounded serious about that. "I have just always imagined having a big family." I sighed. "That's easy for you to say. You aren't the one." She folded her arms. "Pregnancy isn't exactly easy for me. Or at least the last one wasn't." She rubbed her hand on my thigh. "Maybe we can adopt a couple?" "Are we allowed to adopt?" I laughed. "Oh, my crude little Gemma. Yes, we can adopt a couple if that is what you want, love." The limo stopped at the restaurant, and Bruce opened the door for us. I slid out and then held my hand out for Gemma, and we walked into the restaurant arm in arm. The owner of the restaurant was waiting for us at the hostess stand. He bowed to us. "King Cassius and Queen Gemma, I can't tell you what an honor it is that you are dining at my establishment," the short human with balding hair said with a French accent. "I have reserved my best table for your arrival." He grabbed a pair of menus and led us into the elegant restaurant. Other patrons looked up from their meals to watch as we walked by. He pulled out a chair at a table located in the back of the restaurant, and Gemma sat down. "I am Marco, and I will be serving you two tonight. Can I get you started with some wine? We have some of the finest selections available." "The Queen will not be having wine tonight," I smirked at him. "Do you have any sparkling non-alcoholic cider?" The owner nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. And for you? The same, I said as the man hurried away to get out drinks. So, what looks good to you? Gemma was looking through the menu. I'm not used to fancy food like this, she sighed. What looks good to you? The filet mignon sounds good to me, I replied to her. I can't decide. Oh, steak, she growled lowly, I need like 6 of those. I laughed. Well, you get as many steaks as you want, love. Don't I know it? She mumbled as the owner returned with our drinks. He then started telling us the specials. Gemma seemed to perk up when he mentioned one of the items. Oh, a porterhouse steak, she purred. I'll have that. The owner laughed. That's a large steak, madam. Yes, I know. I'm growing royal alpha twins, so stake me. I snorted as the owner looked at me. Sorry, I will have the same, and we'll have the scallops appetizer. Was I harsh with him? Gemma asked with a guilty expression on her lovely face. Maybe a little bit, she sighed. I don't even feel pregnant, and already I am barking at people. I mean, I didn't feel any symptoms this early with Nikki. It was 2 weeks after Jeremy and me, I growled, cutting her off, which made her glare at me. Can you not growl every time I mention his name? I can't help it. She snorted and rolled her eyes. Anyways, I didn't know until 2 weeks after my birthday when I passed out during training. He didn't know. I refrained from saying his name. He and Ian had gone off for training a few days after we had. I growled again before she could finish the sentence. Her brows furrowed into another glare. Sorry, I held up my hands. You are a pain, sometimes, she mumbled. Anyways, if I can finish what I am saying before you start growling again. My father about killed Jeremy when he found out I was pregnant. A loud laugh rolled out of me when I heard that. Somehow imagining Philip Mackenzie killing that bastard made me happy. I glanced at her angry face. I don't blame Phil, one bit for that. I would have killed him. She rolled her eyes and sipped her cider as Marco brought out our appetizer. She dug right in, and I watched as her face contorted with pleasure. Should I be jealous of those scallops? I said in between bites. Oh, they just melt in my mouth. She moaned lightly, I might just take these to bed with me tonight. It was my turn to roll my eyes as we ate. You enjoy teasing me, don't you? She shrugged as she ate. You make it fun, Cass. A smirk spread onto her beautiful face. Our meal arrived before long, and I watched as my mate dug right into the large steak. The owner looked on in amazement at her. The queen likes her steak, no? I nodded. Yes, Marco. She loves steak. It's a werewolf thing. I understand, or I think. I'm just a human, he laughed and walked away. A small population of humans lived in my kingdom that were well aware of the supernatural creatures that existed in the world. We chatted about small things while we ate, mostly about the things we liked. We talked about favorite movies and TV shows. I was surprised Gemma liked mostly older sitcoms while I was into zombie and horror shows. We both made fun of Twilight. Sparkly vampires. We both laughed at that. Those bastards don't sparkle. I snickered. Gemma shrugged. I don't know. The one, your sister, was dating came close to sparkling. I lifted an eyebrow, come again. He was quite the looker, she teased. I mean a little too pale for my taste, but he seemed nice. Of course, I have never met any other vampires. You will meet King Romulus at your coronation. He'll be bringing his queen, Guinevere. She is a werewolf or was a werewolf. Her eyes widened. Really? I nodded. Yep. It was quite the controversy when it first happened. Of course, that was around 50 years ago when my grandfather was king. I explained. Especially because he turned her into a vampire and wish kills the wolf within. That's an abomination to us. Wow, I couldn't imagine being without my wolf. She sipped her cider as she took her last bite of steak. Marco walked over and refilled her drink. Are you two thinking of any dessert? Gemma nodded. Anything chocolate? The man laughed. We have the finest chocolate desserts, Your Majesty. Yes, bring that. I shook my head as the man glanced at me. She loves chocolate. Don't they all? He smiled. I clasped Gemma's hand and looked into her eyes. Gemma, do you have any idea how happy you have made me? I know we didn't get off to their best start. I made a huge mistake that almost cost me everything. I squeezed her hands as her violet eyes looked me over. You may not be everyone's idea of a queen. I don't care that you are a little rough around the edges. That makes my life far more interesting. You are not afraid to speak your mind, and might I add it's a brilliant mind. I have seen how people already love you and follow you. This kingdom needed someone like you to rule them. Something I could not have done alone. I stood up and pulled her chair back, and turned it. I then drew a velvet box out of my pocket before I got down on one knee in front of her. The other patrons in the restaurant got quiet as I looked up at my mate. I knew you were my mate when we were mere pups. I felt it from the first time I saw you that you would own my heart and soul for all of eternity. You are my mate and my queen, and I would like you to be mine in every way. I opened the box revealing a large purple diamond ring. Gemma Sky Mackenzie, will you be my wife? Her eyes widened as tears fell out of her beautiful eyes, and her hand flew over her mouth. She was speechless. Have I rendered you speechless, my love? Yes, she whispered behind her hand. What was that? She lowered her hand. Yes, Cassius. I will be your wife. She sprang off the chair and tackled me in a hug. I stood up, lifting her off the ground as we kissed. The restaurant erupted in cheers and applause. I set her on the floor and slid the ring onto her slender finger. The owner was standing a few feet away. Congratulations, Your Majesties. I turned around to face the people in the restaurant. All of your dinners are on me, I said to them, which elicited even more applause. May you all find your soulmates and live your best lives. Gemma sat back down in her chair, and I pushed it back to the table and took my seat as the owner, and a waiter set our desserts in front of us. It was some chocolate mousse thing. I held her hand as we finished our dessert, and the owner brought out the bill, and I handed him my credit card. Make sure your staff all get $100 tips too. Thank you, sir. He bowed before scurrying off. I wiped a tear off of Gemma's cheek. Don't cry, sweetheart. She looked at her ring. This looks expensive. But how did you know my finger size? It was only $500,000, I said as her jaw fell open, and she gasped. I measured your finger while you were sleeping. $500,000, she squeaked out. I laughed as the owner returned to the table. The meal was fantastic, Marco. Compliments to your chef. I will pass along the compliment, Your Majesty. I am pleased we were here to witness your big night. Thank you for coming to my restaurant. May you return soon. Oh, I think we will, Gemma smiled at him. And sorry if I sounded harsh earlier. He laughed. I understand. Have a good night. We stood up and waved at everyone as we walked out of the restaurant. Bruce smiled broadly as we slid into the limo. I hear the proposal was a success, sir. It was Bruce. He closed the door and walked to the driver's seat. Gemma leaned against me and clasped my hand. Her eyes closed as she nestled against my arm. Are you tired, love? You would think I would be wide awake after my nap. She murmured. We are heading home now, love. I kissed the top of her head. I need to get that dress off of you. She rubbed the top of my pants and smiled at me. Don't tease me, I growled lowly. She giggled. We were silent for a moment. Will you take my name when we get married? Gemma Fury. She said out loud. I kind of like that. I mean, I let you knock me up. Might as well go all the way, right? I threw my head back and laughed. You are balls deep, love. In no time, we were back at the palace and walking towards the elevators. We walked arm in arm. I couldn't wait to get her upstairs. I love you so much, Cassius. She leaned against me as we waited for the elevator. As the doors opened on our floor, I heard screaming and growling coming from down the hall by my sister's room. I saw my mother standing just outside her room. Oh, my gods, Dad! Ainsley screamed out. I glanced at Gemma as we walked towards the action. What's going on? I asked my mother as we reached the door. I glanced in, and Ainsley was in bed with Casper glaring at our father. Oh, your father heard noises and walked in on. She indicated the scene. Oh, I see, I smiled. What does everyone need to watch us? Ainsley growled. I'm sorry, my father laughed. I heard a noise coming from your room, and I came to check on you. Excuse me for being concerned. He turned and walked out of the room. We'll leave you two, so you can finish mating. A pillow flew across the room and smacked into my father's face. Get out! Ainsley screamed. All of you! My mother closed the door, and we all burst out laughing. Boy, she got over Titus, fast, Gemma said while covering her mouth with her hand. I mean, this morning, she was ready just to give up. My mother grabbed her hand and looked at her finger. What is this? She smirked at me. Oh, Cassius proposed to me. Gemma pulled her hand back from my mother's grasp and admired the ring. Way to go, son. My father patted my arm. I mean, you are already mates, but to go the human route. Thanks, Dad. Let's all go to our rooms. Standing out here listening to what's going on in my sister's room is making me ill. Gemma snorted. Like we aren't about to go do the same thing, she started walking away from us. Good night, Terry. Good night, Izzy. Good night, dears. My mother replied to her and then grabbed my father's arm and pulled him down the hall towards their room. I followed my intoxicating mate as her hips swayed towards our room. I growled and caught up to her and swept her into my arms bridal style. I opened the door and carried her inside. We panted heavily for a few moments. I rolled off of her and lay on the bed. She lay her cheek against my chest and traced circles over my muscles. I wrapped my arm around her. Good night, my queen. I listened as her breathing evened out, and she slowly fell asleep. Nothing in the world could spoil this moment for me. I was happier than I had ever been in my life. Everything that mattered to me was right here in this room. As far as I was concerned, nothing could take that away from me. Gemma. I snuggled into his chest as the sun was slowly rising in the sky. His scent was overpowering me and calming my nerves. I had once again dreamt of being locked in a dirty cell while a sinister voice cackled in the shadows. My heart raced as I awoke. He pulled me tighter to him and breathed onto my neck. Another bad dream, love. He whispered against my ear. Nodding, I sighed heavily. Yes, I replied. Mind telling me about it? He asked gently. I turned myself and rested my head in the crook of his neck. I felt safe in his arms. I just have a bad feeling something bad is about to happen. I keep dreaming of being chained up in a dirty cell while someone cackles in the dark. I muttered, not realizing I was trembling while tears fell down my cheeks. I felt his lips upon the top of my head. You have nothing to fear, my queen. You are in the safest place you can be. I won't let anything happen to you or my babies. He was attempting to soothe me. I sighed and closed my eyes again. Our chests were against the other. I traced my fingers on his muscles as he lightly ran his hand through my hair. Before long, I fell asleep again. It seemed only minutes when I awoke again. I was lying on top of Cassius's chest while he held me. I drooled on his skin, and he was lying there just watching me. What? You are cute when you drool, he smirked. Sighing, he held me tight. We best get up and start the day. It's only 5 days until your coronation, and we have a lot to do. I took a deep breath. I didn't want to leave the comfort of our bed or his arms. He released me from his hold as I rolled off of him and onto the floor. Reluctantly I found myself walking into the bathroom. I turned on the shower, and he was behind me with his signature seductive smile. I stepped into the hot water and felt his hands on my shoulders. I leaned into his rock-hard body and ground me into him. I felt him getting hard almost instantly. He leaned down and kissed my shoulder. He held me close in a hungry kiss. I made him sit on the marble bench and then gently washed his body and hair. He returned the favor before we eventually left the now cold shower. After drying off, we walked into our closet. I stared at my wall of clothes. What should I wear today? I mumbled out mostly to myself. A dress. He peered at me. I rolled my eyes as I ran my hands over a couple of the dresses. I wasn't feeling it. I finally decided to wear a purple skirt with flowers and a white button-up shirt with a purple jacket. I sat at the vanity and brushed my hair, deciding to put it into a ponytail and put on light makeup. The girl who hated makeup and skirts was doing so voluntarily. I admired myself in the mirror, and he wrapped his arms around me, placing his hands on my belly. I like this outfit. Pretty but still professional, he purred in my ear. He had on a dark blue suit with a white shirt. He released me, and I helped him with his tie. It was blue silk. I smiled up at him as he leaned down to place a kiss on my lips before grabbing my hand. "Are you ready, my queen?" My stomach rumbled on cue. "I am starving." He clasped my hand and led me out of the closet and out of our room. We walked hand in hand towards the elevator. Ainsley was standing there with her arms around Casper as Terry and Izzy joined us. Izzy smiled at us. "Well, look at this family. We are an elegant bunch, aren't we?" I asked her. "We look the part," Terry added. He smiled at his daughter. "I told you giving into the mate bond was for the best, didn't I?" Ainsley rolled her eyes and shook her head. Her brown hair fell, revealing her newly marked neck. "Look, who let herself be marked?" I smirked at her. "Yesterday you were still crying over it just happened," Ainsley cut me off. We all laughed. "I'm pretty sure you told me to mark you, Ans." Casper kissed her cheek. Terry held out a hand to the young Alpha. "Welcome to the royal family, Alpha Reynolds." He winked at the younger wolf. Casper grasped Terry's hand. "Thank you." The elevator doors opened, and we all walked in. It was beginning to feel tight as the family grew. "So, should I be expecting another grandpup soon?" Izzy asked, making Ainsley's cheeks turn red. "Mother." Izzy shrugged. "What? Can I help it if I am excited about grandpups?" She smirked at her mate. "Right, Terry." He nodded. "Right is." The doors of the elevator opened. Cassius and I lead the way to the dining room. Omegas and guards bowed as we walked by. Cassius smiled and acknowledged each one. We reached the dining room, and everyone stood up. Terry and Izzy took their seats. Casper stood beside Ainsley while Cassius and I stood at the head of the table. "Good morning, everyone." Cassius's voice boomed through the room. "I hope you all had a good night. 5 days until we officially make this beautiful woman at my side our queen. One that I know will rule this kingdom with grace and elegance. She will bring us to greater glory than we have ever known." There was light applause from the others in the room. He held up his hand. "And I would also like to welcome Alpha Casper Reynolds to the royal family. I know my sister Ainsley will bring honor to his pack as their Luna." He smiled at his sister, who looked at the ground. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Casper smiled at Cassius. My mate laughed. "Casper, we are brothers now, call me Cass." He looked down the long table and clapped his hands. "Let's eat." We all sat down at the Omegas brought out breakfast. It was savory crepes this morning with sausage and cheese with a side of potatoes. I looked down the table and waved to my brother, who was laughing next to Casper. Further down the table, Maria was sitting beside her mate Angela with their son on her lap. Little Nikolai was laughing as Maria nibbled his cheek. I couldn't help but miss my son as I watched them. Maria looked over at me. Gemma, I have found someone for you to train with. I smiled. I was excited to get back to training, only to have Cassius growl beside me. That won't be necessary, Maria. He rumbled out as he sipped his coffee. Gemma won't be training anytime soon. I scoffed at him. Why? Because you are pregnant. He glanced at me. I narrowed my eyes at him. I can still train Cassius. No, he spoke out, making it sound like an order. I trained while pregnant with Nikki. Well, at least the first 2 months. I know my limits, Cassius. I tried pleading my case. He growled at me. No training, and that is final. No, I won't accept that. Cassie, she can do training while pregnant. It won't hurt the pups, Izzy added. I trained while pregnant with both you and Ainsley. Cassius leaned back in his seat and folded his arms. What if she gets hurt? I patted his arm. I won't do heavy full-tilt training, Cassius. The pups are smaller than grains of rice right now. They will be fine. If it makes you feel better, I won't make any lower body contact. But I need to train Cass, please. I will go nuts if I don't. I tried using my most innocent-looking pleading face. Do you want to keep a white wolf idle for the next 6 months? The table got quiet as they all looked at him. His eyes narrowed. I knew he hated being put on the spot like this. A growl fell out of him as he glared at Maria. You will make sure she stays safe. Maria nodded. Yes, Cass. She looked at Izzy. We have books on training techniques for pregnant wolves. In fact, one of them was written by Gemma's grandmother. Cassius sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. Fine, Gemma. You can train. But he looked me deep in the eyes. The first sign of problems, you will stop. Yes, I told you I know my limits. I swear no harm will come to our babies, Cassius. He sighed and began to stab at his food angrily. He was not wanting to look at me. I hated that he was unhappy at the prospect of my training. Izzy cleared her throat. Casper, when will you be taking my daughter back to your pack? Casper glanced at Ainsley. Well, I promised her I would take the anti-domestic abuse classes, and I would like to finish with alpha training. Beta Jeffrey can handle the pack until we get back. Ainsley, will you be doing a Luna ceremony when he becomes alpha? My sister-in-law paused in the middle of putting food in her mouth. She glanced at her mate. I hadn't thought about it, Mom. Casper clasped her hand. We can wait if you want, Ainsley. I do have to be sworn in as alpha soon, though. She sighed. Let me think about it, okay, Casper. Cassius finished his breakfast and stood up. I have to get to work. He was still upset as he walked out of the dining room without another word. Sighing, I stood up and followed him. Cass, I called to him, but he didn't answer. We walked into his office, and he sat in a heap in his chair. I sat in the chair beside his. Are you mad at me? He shook his head as he turned on his computer. My shoulders slumped. Then why does it sound like you are mad? I hated to push him. I don't like to be ganged up on. My word should be enough for people not to argue with me. I folded my arms. When it comes to my life, then I am going to argue, Cassius. I'm sorry you don't like the idea of me training, but like I said, I cannot sit idly for 6 months. I just don't like the idea of your training. My eyes rolled as I scoffed. Cassius, I know you think that because your pups are growing inside of me, that it means you get to tell me what to do. But it doesn't. I still have control over my life and my body. He glared at me. Gemma, those pups are the future of our kingdom. If anything happens to them, he trailed off. I placed my hands on both sides of his face and looked into his ocean blue eyes. Cassius, I know how important our children are to the kingdom. Okay. I am not trying to downplay that. But what good am I to them if I can't protect myself? I am not new to this pregnancy thing. He sighed. Didn't you have complications with your son? I nodded. And you almost died. Taking a deep breath, I climbed onto his lap and placed my forehead against his. I have a feeling that I won't have the same complications because I am pregnant by my fated mate. He sighed and wrapped his arms around me. I trust you, Gemma. Please be careful. I lightly kissed his lips. I promise you, Cassius. I slid off of his lap and sat in the chair again. I'll resume training after my coronation and just do short sessions until I find my rhythm. He smiled at that. That is acceptable to me. He clasped my hand, and we got to work. Together we sat and answered emails and made phone calls. After an hour, Deke and Maria walked in for the morning briefing. I am still working on investigating the trafficking by Silverpaw and the suspected other packs. So far only 2 others seem to be involved. Deke explained. I will be starting by taking my men to speak with the Alpha of Stone Moon Pack. Good, Cassius responded to his best friend. Keep me apprised of the situation, Deke. He turned to Maria. I have finished my interrogation of former Alpha Reynolds. He is remaining hostile and combative. I had to up the dose of wolfsbane injections. He insists that he has committed no crimes. Cassius scoffed. Of course. He tapped his fingers on his desk. Angela and the other doctors have sent me the full medical report on his mate. It's not good. Maria shifted in her chair. Are we executing him? I don't see any other punishment. I believe he is beyond help. I am just thankful that his son appears to be nothing like him. Is your sister going to that pack? Deke asked. Cassius nodded at his beta. It appears to be that way. But that won't be for another couple of weeks. I'm surprised she got over Titus so fast, I stated. My mate smirked. Never underestimate the power of the mate bond. Oh, believe me, I don't. I rubbed my belly. Look where it got me. You should have held out longer, Gemma. Deke laughed. It was funny watching this guy run after you like a lovesick puppy. Shut up, Deke, Cassius growled. The beta threw up his hands. I'd apologize, but I'm not sorry. Beta, you better start your investigation before Deke stood up, cutting Cassius off. Fine, your grumpiness. He fake saluted before leaving the office. Maria stood up also. I have to get to work also, Cass. He nodded. Very well, Maria. Hours later, Cassius and I were finishing up a phone call. I sighed and leaned back in my seat. I stood up. I need a break, I said to him. Okay, baby. He mumbled while typing an email. I patted his shoulder. You should take one too. He shook his head. I have a couple more phone calls to make. You take as long as you need, he said without taking his eyes off of the screen. I patted his shoulder and kissed his cheek. Cass, I have to go upstairs to get my phone. I want to call Nikki. He merely nodded as I walked out of the office. I was eager to hear my son's voice. I felt like I had been neglecting him lately as life in the palace became more complicated. After returning to the office, I sat on one of the couches. I glanced at Cassius, who was occupied by a video call. I dialed Jeremy's number and waited for him to pick up. I hoped he wasn't busy. Hey Gemma, Jeremy's deep voice answered after a few rings. How goes it? Morning, Jerm. I am doing good. How are you? I said as Cassius glanced over at me. Same old, same old. Want to talk to Nikki? He asked. Yes, how did you know? He laughed. I didn't think you were calling just to talk to your best friend. Ah, Jeremy. Don't be like that. I laughed, eliciting another glance from Cassius. I stuck my tongue out him. Fine, I'll get Nikki. I think he was watching cartoons with Esther. I cringed slightly. I don't know why it made me mad when he mentioned Esther. She was his mate, and of course, she was helping Jeremy take care of our son. But I felt like I was being replaced. A moment later, I heard my son giggling on the other end. Nikki, Mommy is on the phone. I heard Jeremy say to him. Mommy. Nikki's cheerful voice sounded, making me smile. Hi, Nikki, I said happily to my son. How is my sunshine doing today? I'm watching Paw Patrol. I laughed. That's your favorite, isn't it? We chatted for a little bit. Nikki told me about talking to his wolf. Lasher sounded like a young soul. I would have to ask Leonora about him later. She had been communicating with him. It was about lunchtime, and I felt hungry again. I have to go, Nikki said to me. Mommy is calling me. Nikki, I'm your mommy. I meant Esther. I call her mommy, too. Repressing the growl in my throat, I gripped the phone tightly. Don't call Esther mommy, I said more harshly than I intended to. Nikki whimpered. I'm sorry. I could hear the tears in his voice. I am hungry, mommy. Okay, Nikki. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it like that. Okay, you have a good lunch. Mommy loves you. Can you put Daddy back on the phone? Okay, Mommy. He said before I heard the phone being transferred hands. What's up, Gemma? Jeremy said to me. I heard Esther say something to Nikki in the background. Okay, Mommy, I listened as my son responded. My anger was threatening to boil over. Jeremy, why is Nicholas calling your mate, Mommy? I growled. Is that a problem? he asked in a tone that only made me madder. I snorted. Yes, it's a problem, I nearly yelled. Cassius looked up from his desk. I'm his mommy. I gave birth to him. I am the only one he should be calling mommy. Jeremy scoffed. Well, you aren't here, Gemma. Esther is. She has had to step in and take care of Nick while you are off being queen. So what if our son calls her mommy sometimes? That's basically what she is to him in your absence. She is not his mother, Jeremy, I shouted as I stood up from the couch. I may not be there, but that doesn't make me any less than his mother. Gemma, I don't have time to argue with you. You just need to accept that Nikki is going to call Esther mommy. I growled at him. No, I will not accept that. I appreciate her taking care of my son. But he is my son, Jeremy. She is here, and you aren't. So I think she has every right. Jeremy responded angrily. You have your new pups to focus on. Let us worry about Nikki. Tears threatened to fall down my cheek as I trembled. I was losing my son. Jeremy, please don't do this to me. I love Nikki. I am sorry I am not there. I am not doing anything to you, Gemma. You did this. You left him. Jeremy was trying to provoke me. I didn't have a choice. I screamed. Gemma, what's wrong? Cassius said from his desk. I ignored him. I had to leave Jeremy. I have obligations, we all have obligations, Gemma, he snarled. I have an obligation to my son. Esther is my mate. She is stepping in to take care of my son, and if he wants to call her mommy, then that is fine by me. Okay. No, that is not okay, I yelled. She is not Nikki's mother. Do you hear me, Jeremy? I shouted. I have to go, Gemma, Jeremy said nonchalantly. I can't stand talking to you when you are like this. Bye. He then hung up. Jeremy! I screamed. I roared and threw my phone across the room. It hit a wall and shattered. I felt Cassius's hands on my shoulders. Gemma! He said softly to me, but my anger was boiling. He was the last person I wanted at the moment. He was the reason I was losing my son. I pulled away and glared at him. All of the anger I had felt when he forced me to leave my home and child were at the surface. This is all your fault, I hissed at him. He stepped back. What is? I am losing my son to another woman, I growled. And it's all your fault, Cassius, I screamed with all of my strength. Seeing red, I charged past him and opened the office door with enough force to pull it off the hinges. I nearly ran out of the office, not caring where I went. I just needed to be away from him. Cassius. Gemma. Gemma was sitting on the couch in my office happily talking to her son. I felt her joy of seeing him through our bond. I was doing my best to concentrate on the alpha I was speaking to over video. He was having some stupid dispute with another. Something that they could have resolved themselves. Anger boiled within me, and I looked up from my desk as Gemma was yelling into her phone. She was turning red for some reason. Alphas, I have to go. Maybe you can resolve your issue yourselves, I suggested while glancing over at Gemma. I didn't have a choice. Gemma screamed into the phone. No doubt Jeremy was setting her off. She was standing up while yelling. Gemma, what's wrong? I said to her, only to be ignored. Sighing, I stood up and walked towards her. Jeremy! She growled loudly. She roared and threw her phone across the room. I cringed when it hit the wall and shattered. I put my hands on her shoulders in an attempt to calm her. She pulled away from me and glared at me with so much anger it hurt. Enoch whimpered in my head. This is all your fault, she hissed at me. I took a step back. What is? I am losing my son to another woman, she growled, and it's all your fault, Cassius. She roared at me. Turning heel, she charged towards the door and opened it with such force it came off the hinges. She rushed out of the office. Gemma! I shouted after her as she nearly ran down the hallway. Gemma! I reached her and grabbed her arm. Let me go! She snarled and pulled her arm away from me. I wrapped my arms around her body, feeling it trembling from anger. She snarled and growled as she struggled to get out of my arms. I tried not to take notice of the gathering crowd around us. Gemma, talk to me. She pulled herself out of my arms, still glaring at me. Because of you, I am losing my son. You can't get over yourself, so now my son is calling Esther mommy. She is not his mommy. I am his mommy. She yelled loudly while pacing in front of me. How long before you take the twins away from me? She indicated her still flat belly. Why would I do that? I asked her with confusion as I tried taking her into my arms again. The anger coming from her was getting to be too much for my heart. Enoch was whimpering loudly in my head. He needed me to comfort our mate. Let me go, Cassius! She roared as she struggled to get out of my arms. No, not until you calm down and talk to me. I tightened my hold, which only made her madder. You! She screamed and spat in my face. I could feel her increased heart rate. She managed to free one of her arms and balled her fist. Let me go! She screamed again and launched her fist into my jaw so hard I released her and stumbled backward. My guards lurched forward. Stand down! I ordered them as I held my sore jaw. Gemma was walking away from me again. Gemma! I called after her. She flipped me the bird. Gemma, for God's sakes, get back here! She turned to face me. You do not own me, Cassius. You did this. You trapped my life, and now I am losing the most important person because of you. Every word she spoke was like a dagger in my heart. I knew I had made a mistake with her. But we were working it out. Gemma, I love you, say you love me, but you took my baby from me. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Her violet eyes tinged red as I felt her rage. Her eyes flickered from violet to black as her body was trembling. I was afraid she was going to hurt herself. I hate you. I looked around at the gathered spectators. My parents were standing a few feet away. I had to fight tears as my mate broke down. Gemma, you don't mean that. I reached out to grab her again. She pulled away from me. I hate you! She roared so loud I stumbled back again. She turned heel and ran from me. Her hand was covering her face. I just stood watching her in stunned silence, not knowing what to do as Enoch howled in my head. A single tear ran down my cheek as my mother stepped towards me and placed a hand on my arm. I watched as Gemma stopped and collapsed to the ground while holding her hand on her heart. Gemma. I brushed past my mother and ran to my fallen mate. I picked her up, and she wasn't breathing. Oh goddess, Gemma. Please. She resumed breathing but didn't wake up. Gemma, please wake up. I cried as I held her close to me. I stood up and started running towards the hospital. Cassius, a familiar female voice sounded in my head. Leonora. I responded to the voice. Yes, Gemma will be fine. I had to force myself forward to keep her heart from exploding. I stopped my running and looked down at my mate. Wait. Her heart almost exploded. Yes, Leonora stated, which made me start running towards the hospital again. We white wolves are prone to such bouts of anger that can cause our hearts to explode. No, no, I cried as I arrived at the hospital and kicked in the doors. The nurses and receptionist looked up in horror as I carried Gemma inside. Her heart almost exploded. One of the nurses immediately leads me down the hall and into a room. I gently set my mate down on the bed as Angela rushed in. What happened? I heard you guys were fighting in the hall. I ran my hand through my hair. Her heart almost exploded. Angela's eyes widened as she snapped her fingers at the nurses. I need heart monitors. She turned her attention to me. What do you mean almost exploded? My hands were trembling as I tried to form words. Her wolf had to force herself forward to calm her so her heart wouldn't explode. I guess it's a white wolf thing. They get so angry that their hearts will explode. Tears fell down my face as I explained it to Angela. She began to examine my unconscious mate as the nurses rushed in with equipment. Her heart is beating erratically. We need to get it slowed. Angela and the nurses began hooking up the machines, and I watched the heart monitor. She opened Gemma's eyes and gasped as they were solid black. I think her wolf is healing her. I stepped towards Gemma. Thank the goddess for that, Angela mumbled as she continued to examine my mate. She cursed as the beeping on the machine became erratic again. She barked orders at the nurses, and I felt myself being pushed out of the room by two nurses. No. I growled. Cassius, we need room to work, or we'll lose her, Angela said to me from the bed. I stepped out of the room into the hall and fell to my knees. I could feel pain in my own heart as I felt my mate's life force leaving her. I prayed to the goddess. Please don't take her. Please. Tears streamed down my face as I felt a hand on my shoulder. I looked up to my mother as she knelt in front of me. I wrapped my arms around her and sobbed into her chest as she silently held me. I feel her leaving me, I cried. It will be okay, Cassie, my mother soothed me as I felt another hand on my back. Your father and I are here. I can't lose them. I can't lose them, I shut my eyes and prayed as Enoch howled. You aren't losing them, Cassius, Leonora's voice came through my mind again. I am healing her. She will be okay. You have to trust me. A second later, Angela came out of the room. Cassius. She was standing behind my mother as I looked up at her. We stabilized her. I nodded and buried my head in my mother's shoulder again. Thank you, Leonora, I said to Gemma's wolf. Gemma is resting now. She will be awake in a few hours. The pups are fine. I pulled back from my mother and stood up. She is going to be fine. The babies are fine, I stated. Her wolf stepped in. My heart pounded in my chest. Mother, stay with her. I need to go for a run. She squeezed my arm. I'll be right here for her, Cassie. My mother reached up and held my cheek. My father touched my arm as he stood beside me. Right now, I was not the king. I was just a boy in need of comfort from his parents, and I was thankful for that. I nodded at him as I let them go and walked to the entrance of the hospital. I looked up at the blue sky, took off my clothes, and then shifted into my black wolf and took off towards the woods. Paws pounded against the ground as we ran. Enoch howled as the wind rushed through our fur. We almost lost her, Enoch. I know, I felt it too, he replied. I felt like dying with her. We stopped at the top of a hill and looked out at the trees. I felt like crying but couldn't in this form. Instead, we just let out a mournful howl. I almost lost my entire world. My mate and my unborn pups almost died in my arms. Did her heart almost explode, Enoch? He was silent for a moment. Enoch. Yes, Cassius. He finally replied. Do white wolves have weak hearts? Again he was silent for a moment. No. They are just prone to extreme emotions. Extreme emotions take a lot out of them. And their hearts can literally explode. He sighed. Not like a bomb explode. But they burst in their chests, causing them to die. Those last words hit me like a truck. I laid down on the cold ground and lay my head on my paws, and just stared out at the woods. What had I gotten myself into? Do we want a white wolf for a mate? He growled. Do you not want our mate? Of course, I do. But is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it, you stupid. He snarled at me. Mating with a white wolf is more intense than mating with other wolves. I sighed heavily. I need to talk to someone. I stood up again and took off back to the palace. There was one person in the kingdom that could offer me insight into white wolves. Someone who was not only the son of one but also the father of one. I stopped at the trilene and shifted into human form, and picked up a pair of shorts from one of the stashes we kept throughout the woods. I put the shorts on and headed towards my office. My father stopped me on the way. Are you okay, son? Shaking my head, I brushed past him and continued towards the office. No, he followed me silently as I walked into the office. I picked up the door and put it in front of the entrance. Guess we need to get a new door, my father chuckled, but I ignored him and sat behind my desk and turned on the computer. What are you doing, Cassius? I looked up at him as he stepped in front of the desk. Getting insight, I mumbled a reply as I pulled up the video chat. It chirped a few seconds before Philip Mackenzie's face appeared on the screen. He looked worried about something. Cassius, what is going on? He asked me frantically. Your mother called my mate and told her that Gemma is in the hospital because her heart almost exploded. He nearly yelled. She will be all right, Phil, I calmly said to him as my father took the seat beside mine. Terry. Phil said to my father. Gemma and my son had a little dust-up in the hall, my father explained. She was angry at me, so angry her heart nearly exploded, so her wolf took charge to keep that from happening, I explained. Philip leaned back in his seat. Melinda is going nuts with worry, he ran his hand through his brown hair. His eyes glazed over a moment before returning to normal. But you said she would be all right? Are the babies all right? I nodded. Yes, her wolf said they are just resting now. He took a deep breath, thank the goddess. He looked away from the screen as I heard him talking to a female voice. A moment later, Melinda Mackenzie was in front of the screen. Cassius, is my baby girl all right? Her eyes were red from tears. Yes, Luna. Gemma and the pups are all right, I repeated to her. She sighed and sat on Phil's lap. What happened? I didn't feel like explaining it again. We fought. Her heart nearly exploded. Her wolf took over to heal her, I quickly gave her the gist. Look, Phil, I called you to talk about your mother. Phil's eyes widened. My mother. He glanced at his mate. Why? I knew it was a sore subject for him. He was only 16 when his mother died. A week later, his father died from the pain of losing his mate, leaving Phil to become alpha of the pack at a young age. I need insight, Phil. I know you don't like talking about her. But I need help, and you are the only one who can help me, I explained to him. He took a deep breath and grasped the arm of his chair. You know I don't like talking about her. I know. Please, Phil. I am not asking you as your king but as the man mated to your daughter. But I can order you as king to tell me everything if I have to, I said as he held up a hand. I'll talk. No need for orders, he looked me in the eyes as well as one can through a computer screen. Is there anyone else in the office with you? Just my dad, I pointed at him. Do you want him to leave? Phil shook his head. Terry is one of the few people I have spoken to about my mother, he sighed sadly. This conversation stays between us. Melinda was still sitting beside him and clasped his hand. He smiled at his mate, and they held each other's hand. The love between them was apparent. My mother's heart exploded. That is what killed her. He explained. Sure, everyone knows she died in the battle which she did. But it wasn't the vampires that killed her. It was her heart. My palms grew sweaty as he said that. White wolves are prone to extreme emotions. My father tried stopping her, but she insisted on going into battle alone before your grandfather could send in reinforcements. She was convinced that she alone could take on a legion of newborn vampires. By the time the warriors showed up, my mother was dead, along with a pile of vampires. My father felt her heart explode. Phil's eyes filled with tears. I listened intently to his story. What was their relationship like, Phil? I asked him. He took another deep breath. Intense. They fought all of the time. But they also loved each other intensely, Cassius. There is no in-between with a white wolf. Everything is extreme with them. The bond you feel with one, as my father explained, is much deeper and more intense than the bond with any other wolf. I leaned back in my chair and glanced at my father. I knew they were a lot to handle. Phil sighed and laughed lightly. Why do you think I was okay with you rejecting Gemma? I knew you wouldn't have. But I was giving you an out. I will never reject your daughter, Phil. I love her. He nodded. I know you do. Cassius, you have to understand, though. If anything happened to Gemma, he trailed off. After my mother died, my father was like a corpse himself. He wouldn't eat. He would sleep. He just sat in his room and stared. A week after her death, I found him hanging in their room with cuts down his arms. He closed his eyes. I had to cut my father down from the rope. He died in my arms crying for his mate. It still haunts me. He paused. Cassius, I do not doubt that you and Gemma will make it. But know that your relationship will never be easy. I now understood why Philip didn't talk about his parents. The history books only talked about Victoria dying in battle. None of them mentioned how. They also left out the part about how her mate died. Is any relationship ever easy, Phil? What was the fight about? Phil asked me with a serious expression. I sighed. Her son. Apparently, he has been calling another she-wolf mommy. She hates me for taking him from her. Phil sighed. I had a feeling that it was about Nicholas. I have heard my grandson calling his father's mate mommy, and I knew Gemma would not be happy about that. He looked away from the screen and smiled. Phil, I said to him as a blonde-haired child ran into the frame and hopped onto the alpha's lap. The child, Gemma's child, smiled as his grandfather held him tight. I brought you cookies, Grandpa. The child held out the baked goods. Phil took one of the cookies and bit into it. Thank you. He pointed at the screen. Nicholas, say hi to King Cassius. The child turned to the screen and waved. Hi, King Cassius. I laughed as he said my name wrong. Hello Nicholas. The child was the spitting image of his father, which made me have to repress a growl. Nicholas smiled at me, and it was a smile I knew well. It was Gemma's smile. The kind that lit up an entire room and filled everyone else with warmth. It was then that I knew what I had to do. I had to remedy the biggest mistake I have ever made. Phil, are you going to be home for a while? He shrugged. I have no plans to leave. Why? Thank you for talking with me. It helped. I said to him. Gemma is all right. I have to go. Bye. I switched off the video chat without allowing Phil to respond. I stood up and started to walk out of my office. My father was behind me. Where are you going, Cassius? He asked. Deke and Maria were walking towards us. Deke eyed the broken door of my office. What happened? Gemma and I fought, I mumbled as I walked past my two best friends. Have someone fix the door, I said to him. You and Maria hold down the fort. I'm leaving for a few hours. Where are you going? Deke asked. I stopped and turned to him. Just do what I ask, Deke, I growled at him. He sighed. Fine, Your Majesty. I rolled my eyes and walked towards the front door. Bruce, bring the limo around front. I need to leave the palace. Yes, Your Majesty, my driver responded. Mind telling me where you are going, son? My father was still beside me. I am going to fix something I broke, Dad. Go check on Gemma, please. I said to him as we walked out the door. Bruce already had the limo in front of the palace. He opened the door. I'll be back soon, I said to my father. He nodded with a slight smile. You do what you have to, son. I'll be here waiting. I slid into the limo, and Bruce closed the door. He ran to the driver's seat. I was still dressed only in a pair of shorts. Luckily there were clothes in the limo. I pulled up one of the other seats revealing storage and pulled out a t-shirt, and put it on as Bruce looked back at me. Where to, Your Majesty? Zephyr Moon Pack, I replied to him. Gemma. There I was just wandering among a field of daisies. I shivered as a cold breeze blew through, and I felt alone. I was in this paradise and felt my soul frantic to find the ones I loved. Then I heard the laughter of children and discovered my blonde-haired twins playing with Nikki beside a stream. They looked up when I emerged from the flowers. Hi, Mom, they said in unison. I looked around for their father, but there was no sign of him. A low growl came from the trees, and the children shrank back, and instinctively I stood in front of them as a large white wolf walked towards us. Her fur glistened in the sun. I reached out and scratched her ears. Leonora, I said as I looked into her violet eyes, am I dead? She growled lowly and looked at the children who had returned to their game. No, but you came close. I had to force myself forward to keep your heart from exploding. She said to me in my mind. I brought you to a happy place with your pups to calm her heart. Where is Cassius? I asked her, suddenly missing my mate. You hate him, remember, she snarled. She turned her attention to the children. I thought you would only want to see your children, not the man you claim to hate. Shaking my head, I wrapped my arms around her furry neck. No, I don't hate him. I love him. With everything I have. Why would I hate him? The entire palace heard you scream your hatred for Cassius. You were so angry at him that your heart nearly exploded, as I explained to you, she explained. Did you forget what your father told you about our extreme emotions and how to control them? Tears fell down my cheeks. I remember. I buried my head in my hands as I sat on the ground. Leonora sat on her haunches and nuzzled my arm. I want Cassius. She lay her furry head on my lap. Cassius is fine. You will see him when you wake up. But he is hurt, deeply. You will need to make it up to him. I will, I promise. I gently stroked her ears. She stood up on her forepaws as a black wolf walked towards us. The children surrounded him as he allowed them to stroke his fur. Enoch, I said to him as he whimpered and wagged his tail. I'm sorry, Enoch. He stepped towards me and nuzzled my cheek. I looked into his ocean blue eyes. We have to go, Gemma. You will wake up soon, and you will be fine. Your babies will be fine, Leonora interjected. Thank you, Leonora. I am a terrible human, I said as she growled lowly and nuzzled my cheek. No, you are not terrible, Gemma, she replied. She looked at Enoch, and they both yipped before disappearing into the woods, leaving me with the children. I got the first good look at the twins as Nikki clasped my hand and led me towards the stream. Then in a flash, the scene went black. In the darkness, I heard machines beeping and someone sighing beside me. I squinted as I slowly opened my eyes to the bright lights of the hospital. I tried sitting up only to have a hand stop me. I turned my head to look at Izzy. Her stern eyes were glaring at me. Izzy. Good, you are awake, she replied coldly. I looked at her with confusion. Where is Cassius? I said with a raspy throat. She handed me a glass of ice water, which I took happily. Why do you care where my son is? You hate him, remember? I cringed as she said those words. I looked down at my hands as I set the water down on a table beside the bed. I was angry, Izzy. I don't hate him. She narrowed her eyes and regarded me. She sighed heavily. I know you don't, Gemma. I could still sense the angry brewing within her. I believe you were angry over the situation with your son, right? I nodded. Yes, he keeps calling Esther mommy. Esther, that is his father's mate? She asked. Yes, I answered her as I felt my anger rising again. That caused the machines to start beeping frantically. She placed her hand on my own. You need to calm that white wolf of yours, dear. We can't have another incident. It would break my son if anything happened to you and his pups. You nearly died in his arms, she nearly spat out. I watched you scream at him in the hall by his office. I saw the look on his face as you stabbed him with that mouth of yours. His beloved queen was proclaiming hatred for him, she explained with venom. You are a mother, so you understand the bond we have with our pups. I nodded at her again. Then you need to understand that that bond does not weaken just because they grow up and start families of their own. You still feel their pain and heartbreak, Gemma. I felt my son's heart break as you screamed those words at him. I held him when he thought you were dying and fell to his knees. The king of the werewolves was a weeping mess in my arms because of you. Tears fell down my cheeks as I listened to her. I was so angry I couldn't think straight. I just needed to stab at the one I felt had hurt me. That one happened to be my mate, the man I love with all of my heart. If you had died today, my son would have followed. The kingdom as we know it would have been destroyed all because you can't control those white wolf emotions of yours. I looked up at Izzy. She leaned forward. Yes, I am well aware of the extreme emotions you white wolves possess. Those emotions got your grandmother killed, and that caused your grandfather to commit suicide. At the age of 16, Philip found his father hanging by his neck in the bedroom he shared with your grandmother, Izzy continued to explain. Yes, you white wolves have extreme emotions, but you can control them. You are much less of a hothead than your grandmother. You can control those urges, Gemma. For the sake of my son, and for the sake of all of us, I sat silently as she spoke. Cassius did something awful to you. But he was working on fixing it because he lives for you, Gemma. My son's heart and soul belong to you, and today you nearly killed him. I never want to see my child in a state like that again. He may be 24 years old, but he is still my pup. You must hate me, Izzy, I said to her and was smacked on the arm. No, Gemma, I do not hate you. I hate what you did to Cassius. I hate how you endangered the future of this kingdom, and I hate that you almost died. I have grown to love you like you were my pup, but today I hated everything you did. She pulled her phone out of a pocket in the skirt she was wearing. She handed me the phone. Now, call your mother. She is worried sick about you. She stood up. I have other things to do, now that you are awake. She walked towards the door. Where is Cassius? She shrugged. He just took off. No one knows where he went. Remember to give me back my phone when you get out of here. She then left the room. I looked at her phone, and I found my mother's number among the contacts. Taking a deep breath, I waited as the line trilled while waiting for my mother to pick up the phone. Izzy. I heard my mother's frantic voice. Izzy, is Gemma all right? Mom, it's me, I said to her. Gemma. My mother shouted. Are you all right? I could hear the pain and tears in her voice. I'm fine, Mom. The pups are fine. She took a deep breath. Gemma Sky Mackenzie, how could you scare us all like that? What were you thinking? More tears slid down my cheek. I am sorry, Mom. Jeremy pissed me off, and all I saw was red. I wasn't thinking straight. I heard male voices in the background as I sensed my mother walking into another room. I know I heard Cassius's voice. Gemma, talk to your father. Tell him you are all right. Mom, is Cassius there? I asked her. Gemma. It was my father's voice. Gemma, are you all right? I'm fine, Daddy. I heard him sigh out loud. Daddy, is Cassius there? Yes, my father replied. Why? There was a pause as I waited for a reply. We are talking. He is trying to gain insight into being the mate of a white wolf. He explained. Can I talk to him? I asked. There was another pause. No, he'll talk to you when he gets back to the palace. I have to go. Here, talk to your mother, he said as I heard the phone being passed to my mother. I heard a child giggling and knew it was Nikki. Mom. Yes, baby. I am here. Mom, what is going on? Why is Cassius at the pack house? My mom sighed. Your father just told you. Cassius is here trying to gain insight into you, dear. That is all. I sighed. Something was going on between my mate and my parents. Tell him I love him, and I am sorry. Tell him yourself, Gemma. He is on the way back to the palace. You two were made for each other. The moon goddess expects you to work out your problems with Cassius. Please don't end up like your grandmother. I know you can control yourself better than you did earlier. I never want to get a phone call telling me that my daughter almost died from a heart explosion. Please don't ever do that to me again. I was being lectured yet again by an angry mother. Do you hear me, Gemma? Yes, Mom. Good, I love you, baby girl, she said in a calmer tone. I have to go now. I am glad you called to tell me that you are all right. I was going crazy with worry and probably driving your father nuts. You always drive, Daddy, nuts. She laughed. Yes, of course. Now you get some rest and try to make up with Cassius. He loves you more than anything else in this world. Okay, Mom. I love you. Tell Nikki I said hi. Will do, bye Gemma. She hung up the phone. I set it on the side table as Angela walked into the room. She stared at the clipboard in her hands as she made notations from the machines. Are you mad at me too? I asked her. She sat in the chair Izzy had been occupying and refused to look at me. Your heart appears to be fine. I will release you as soon as Cassius returns. She started to get up. Wait, Angela. Please don't be angry with me, I liked the woman. She and her mate Maria were two of Cassius's closest friends. Angela sighed and sat in the chair again. She looked up at me. Her green eyes were looking me up and down. Maria told me what you said in the hall before you collapsed. Cassius is probably her closest friend. He is like a brother to her. And when we became mates, he became like a brother to me. My parents and Pac turned their backs on me when they found out my mate was another woman. Cassius was there for me. He became my surrogate family along with Maria. So, I was mad at you for hurting him. I realize some of it you can't help. But still. I wanted to kick you for doing that to him. She sighed. I am sorry, I trailed off and took a deep breath. I need to get a hold of my emotions like my father always told me. I need to learn so I can teach my pups. I rubbed my belly. Angela leaned towards me. Look, there aren't too many people in this kingdom with knowledge on white wolves. There is one elder who may be able to help you. His name is Reed. He lives in the forest outside of the palace ground in an old shack. He may be able to help you learn to control your emotions better. I nodded, thank you, Angela. She stood up. I have to get back to my rounds. Cassius should be returning soon. Get some rest. I can have some food sent if you want. It's nearly dinner time. I sighed. I could use something to eat, I said as she left the room. I laid my head against the back of the bed and closed my eyes. I fell asleep. I only opened my eyes again when his intoxicating scent woke me up. Hi! I squeaked out to him. He just stood in the doorway, looking down at me. His face was like a wall of no emotion. Cassius, I'm sorry, I pleaded with him. Please don't hate me, I started to sob. I don't hate you. Please. Talk to me, I buried my head in my hands. I felt the bed dip and opened to see him sitting on the bed. I crawled onto his lap as he wrapped his arms around me. He adjusted us, so he was lying on the bed while I lay on his chest. His hand traced down my cheek. I love you, Cassius, I said quietly to him. There is nothing in this world that I love more than you, Gemma. He finally spoke quietly. I buried my face in his muscular chest, taking in his scent. I was just so angry that I stabbed the wrong person. I just don't know how to control myself sometimes. I know, Gemma. He rumbled out in almost a whisper. You went to my father to talk about me. He nodded as he traced his finger up and down my arm. The sparks of electricity that shot through my body made me shiver. Yes, and I needed to fix something I had broke. I looked up at him. His ocean blue eyes were peering into mine. What did you fix? A slight smile spread onto his handsome face. You will find out soon. But first, I need to take you to our room to get you fed, and then I am going to bed. I smirked. Are you too mad for some makeup? I'm not mad at you, Gemma. But I seriously need sleep. You are a very exhausting person to be with. I frowned at him as Angela walked into the room. She stepped towards us. The Queen is cleared to go, Cass. Just have her take it easy tonight. He nodded at her. Thank you, Angie. He stood up with me in his arms. I didn't protest as he held me bridal style and carried me out of the hospital. So that's a no on X. Yes, we both need rest. He replied with reluctance in his voice. We all need rest. He kissed my lips as he carried me through the halls. I noticed the healing bruise on his jaw. I lightly traced it with a finger. I didn't mean to hurt you. You have mean punch, Gemma. He chuckled lightly. We reached our room, and he carried me to our bed and set me down. What do you want for dinner? I shrugged. I honestly didn't feel hungry. I'm not hungry, I replied. You need to eat something. I know. Just have them bring up something light, okay? Soup and a sandwich sound good to you? Yes. He sat on the bed, and his eyes glazed over as he was mind-linking the kitchen staff. Dinner will be here for you shortly. He stood up. I am going to take a shower. You aren't eating anything. He shook his head. No, I have no appetite. But you need to eat too, Cass. He shrugged. I am not the one growing twins. I will be fine. I need a shower, and then I'm going to sleep. His tone told me that he wasn't going to argue. Sighing, I watched him walk into the bathroom. Moments later, the shower turned on. I was tempted to join him, but I sensed he wanted to be alone. There was a knock on the door, and I strolled to the door. An Omega had a cart with my dinner on it. I could smell the tuna sandwich and ramen noodles. Thank you, I said to her and pulled the cart into the room. I sat on the couch and began to eat my food. Cassius walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel that hung low on his hips. I licked my lips as I imagined what was hiding underneath the towel. He walked into the closet, emerging moments later, wearing only thin silk boxers. He climbed into our bed and laid down. Good night, love, he said as he lay his head down. Within seconds I heard him snoring. My poor king wasn't kidding. He was exhausted. I finished my food and then went into the bathroom to take a quick shower. I needed to wash today off of my body. After the shower, I dressed in a thin nightgown. I got into bed and snuggled up to my king, laying my head on his chest. I lay there listening to his heartbeat as his arm wrapped around me. My eyelids grew heavy as I fell asleep on him. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.